With Season 2 of Gekishin Squadra approaching quicker every day, everyone is wondering what 3 characters are going to be added to the game next. Now I will admit I try to stay tapped into the scene as much as I can, but I haven't heard anything yet when it comes to leaks or hints or clues or anything of that nature. However, in this video I will share my top 3 most wanted characters and how I would design them. The character that I would be most excited to see in the game first and foremost would have to be Dragon Ball Super Broly. I think we can all agree that we need some more variety in the tank department, because I don't know how it is for you guys, but 90% of my games are either Cooler or Caulifla, and the other 10% is a Cell feeding their ass off. That's me, by the way. I'm the Cell feeding like crazy. I'm so sorry, guys. Anyway, my idea for Broly is him, obviously, as a tank that starts in his base form with a transformation at level 7 to Super Saiyan, as this seems to be the norm for characters like that. His rush attack would be a physical attack that increases in range the longer Broly is doing it, to try and exemplify the way he got bigger the longer he was fighting. The passive I had in mind is a little elaborate, but please bear with me for a minute. Broly goes through a lot of forms or stages in the movie, and I want to try and represent all of those in just one character. 2 forms I haven't mentioned earlier are Broly's wrathful form and his legendary Super Saiyan form, and they would come to life through the passive. The longer Broly fights, and the more he uses his skills, he builds up a meter, and once the meter is full when he's in base, he'll go into his wrathful form, and after transforming into a Super Saiyan, he will go into a legendary Super Saiyan form. Broly becomes unmovable, gets increased damage, and his skills get different effects in these forms for a limited time before he turns back to base or regular Super Saiyan. Think of this in the same vein as like Gnar from League of Legends or Piccolo from Smite. For his first skill, I'd have Broly basically do what Goku does for the Meteor Hammer in this game, because Broly does this constantly in the movie and it's in like every other game I can think of. It would function in a similar fashion as well, but also give the opponent movement speed down. In wrathful or legendary form, Broly would slam now with both arms and would also debuff the enemy's strike defense. Broly's second skill would be a cone attack, where if the opponent is in the cone, Broly grabs the leg and swings them to the opposite side, obviously referring to the scene where he demolishes Goku. If they hit nothing but the floor, they get afflicted with strike defense down. However, if the enemy hits another enemy hero or NPC/creep, then they get stunned. In wrathful or legendary form, Broly grabs the enemy, swings them to the other side, and blasts them with his chest like he did to Frieza, and afflicts the enemy with strike defense and movement speed down no matter what. For the third skill, I would give Broly a beam straight from the mouth. This would also just do straight up damage and is mainly meant to finish off anyone trying to get away. Once again, in the wrathful or legendary form from the passive, this would become the big fuck you energy ball he randomly busts out all of a sudden in the movie. It would function as a beam though, as it like travels across the area, but where the energy ball ends, there's a big AoE explosion. And last but not least, for Broly's super attack, I choose the meteor shower type attack he does when he first becomes a Super Saiyan. This obviously does a bunch of AoE damage like almost every character in this game. However, Broly can move around and attack after initially popping the super to try and make it a little unique at least.
My very being towers above all things, the whole universe.
With the inclusion of Zamasu as a tank, I could not think of Goku Black as anything else than a damage character, so that's exactly what he'll be for me. Of course, this guy starts in base and transforms to Super Saiyan Rose at level 7 as well. His rush attack would just be a physical attack. I want to keep Goku Black a little more simple or straightforward so that he's actually like a villain version of Goku and good for newer players to pick up and play and more experienced players to easily have fun with. Everybody remembers old Goku Black saying,
"The pain will only make me stronger."
And therefore his passive will make him do more damage the lower his health is. Once again, very straightforward, but it should be effective. I also feel like this would be a good time to bring up that I haven't checked if any of the current characters have these passives or abilities, as I haven't played all of them yet, so yeah, let's just continue on. The first skill is the Kamehameha. It functions like Goku's, except doesn't get as huge, but it has an AoE explosion at the end of it like it does in Breakers. Anybody remember that game? No? Alright, let's go on. It's black in base form and pink in rosé because changing colors is cool and neat. It also just does raw damage without any debuffs or whatever. We do get a little more complicated with the second skill, as this is a dash attack with the Keyblade, and if it hits, it leaves spikes in the enemy that cause bleed damage. Upon another activation, the spikes can be made to explode to do burst damage, as in Goku Black's Divine Lasso. He never really does this ability, as far as I know, in the base form in the show, so I guess it's just pink then as well. I don't know, man. The third skill will be the very beloved Instant Transmission. I'll try to make it less toxic than the Super Saiyan 3 version though, I promise, so please bear with me once again. Goku Black can only transport to enemies, and upon teleporting, immediately hits them with a Ki Blast like in the show, which causes a movement speed buff for Goku Black upon the enemy being hit. This way, it's a lot more contained and purely meant to chase down and finish off enemies. Now, I know what you're all thinking. Where's the scythe? Well, I saved that beauty for the super attack, of course, baby. I mean, hey, we gotta get it in there. Upon activation, Goku Black gets the scythe and starts spawning clones to attack and do damage. I guess the clones can be controlled and are just NPCs that do damage that just annoy the opponent. And the super attack can be activated again, kinda like Kid Gohan's, to do a big slash for huge burst damage.
Prepare yourself, Kakarot! I'm coming.
Now, I know this is a less popular pick than the others, but I said in the beginning that it's my list, and I just love Raditz, alright? The most done dirty character in the history of Dragon Ball deserves some damn respect, and I'm gonna give it to him. I do have to say, though, that this is the toughest one to design, considering he's not in the show for very long. Now, Raditz obviously wouldn't have a transformation, and I would make him either technical or damage. I'd be cool with both, really. He would also have a physical rush attack, and I'm starting to think that maybe I just hate ranged characters or something, I don't know. A built-in passive to the rush attack would be that Raditz would do more damage the lower HP an enemy has. This is to reflect his tendency to pick on those weaker than him. In that same regard, his passive would give him a buff over anybody that's lower level than him, which would make him absurd and a monster in Cell Jr. games because, you know, those need to be even more lopsided than they are already, you know, but that's just me being me. His first skill would be a dash attack, and we get a little freaky here. If the opponent is facing Raditz, then he teleports behind them and hits them with an elbow in the back, moving them forward. However, if the opponent is facing away from Raditz, Raditz teleports in front of them and kicks them back, giving him some unique forms of crowd control in just one ability. Who else remembers this iconic Raditz line?
Keep your eye on the birdie.
Well, I sure do, and that's why this is his second skill. It's a chargeable energy bomb that does AoE damage. When it's not fully charged, it does a movement speed debuff on the enemy, and if it is fully charged, it staggers the enemy. For the third skill, I'm taking some inspiration from my main man Topo, and Raditz gets a counter. This is of course inspired by him stopping Goku's Kamehameha. However, unlike Topo, it doesn't work in that you just kind of absorb the damage. Raditz gets energy defense up, but the attacks just bounce back in an AoE field of damage. The more leveled up the skill, the bigger the AoE. So initially, you kinda need to get in people's faces with it, if that makes sense. Double Sunday is Raditz's signature move, and of course, that will be his super attack in this game. 2 blasts on either side of Raditz that form AoE damage pools that after a while meet and form one big one. Anyone hit by the attack gets energy and strike defense down, making it a big debuff to reflect that he took Piccolo's entire green arm with this thing. Now, I would be remiss in making this video and not covering some summonable animations, baby, that I would like to show up with these characters. I'll only cover ones that would be legendary rarity because why bother otherwise, honestly. For Broly, as an entrance animation, he comes down the stairs from the Frieza ship and his ki just blasts away the guards. And then he does the roar when Paragus tells him to go nuts for the ready up screen or whatever that is called. Some finishing move animations would be his backhand to Vegeta, the head grab and throw to Goku, and his big fuck off beam that he does to Gogeta. All of these would be sweet, in my opinion. For Goku Black, the entrance animation can only be the Tornado of Darkness, and he gives his signature sinister grin for the ready up screen. I'd love to see a team finisher for him where the other ally holds the enemy like Zamasu did in the show, and Goku Black fires off a Kamehameha. And another good finisher would be the way he stabbed Vegeta and made him look like a jobber. I think that would be a good solo finisher. For Raditz, once again, there can be only one entrance animation, and that's the Saiyan space pod landing and Raditz flying out. In the ready up screen, he would check his scouter or something. Initially, I struggled to come up with the finish animations for Raditz, but then I remember him making Krillin his bitch by smacking him into a house with his tail, and now I might want to see that as a finish animation in Gekishin Squadra more than anything else in the world, to be completely honest. So there we are. Those are my 3 most desired characters for Gekishin Squadra and how I designed them. Now, I'm not a game designer, I just want to have some fun with this, and I hoped you enjoyed me doing so. Obviously, Broly's design is the most intricate and would probably make the strongest character, but also the hardest to play and to master, so I feel like there's a decent balance there. Let me know in the comments below what you think of these and who you would like to see show up in the game in the future, and everybody remember, we are Gekishin, and this is Squadra! That was my idea of like a catchphrase and sign off things. You guys rock with it, or should I just kept it to myself? Okay, bye!